I'm Marisa Norcross.
And I'm Dave Freund, and this is The Next Page.
Hey, Dave.
Hi, Marisa.
How's everything going this week? Staying busy?
Very busy. Very busy. November seems to me to be extremely busy just because I crammed a bunch of things in, a lot of trainings in, which is good for the bottom line. We need revenue. And then I'm trying to squeeze in my vacation days that I have to use or I lose.
Yes,
it's good.
Those are very important.
Yes, they are. So I think I've actually scheduled all the full days that I possibly can, and so now people are saying to me, well, "Why don't you try half days?" So we'll see. How about you?
This week is going very well.
Good.
I actually just got back from a tour of our new venue for the annual dinner, so everyone should keep an eye out for an announcement on that.
Awesome.
We are moving it this year. So it'll be the same really great programming that we always have. We'll still have our awards, just a new location this year. So that's really exciting. And I can't believe we're already deep into our planning for the event, which is not until the end of May.
Exactly. Well, events like that don't just happen. They have to be planned well in advance.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
The room where I'm recording my portion of the podcast is full of diapers.
Yes, it is. It is.
So what's up with the diapers?
So some people may be aware, because we have pushed out a few things on social media, that we at MACNY have been doing a diaper drive for the CNY Diaper Bank. There's a huge need for diapers in the central New York area. And so we decided just a few weeks ago that we were going to set a goal of 1,000 diapers. And we are so excited because we've already surpassed our goal, and the staff has been so wonderful in donating diapers. And then on Friday, our diaper drive will end on Friday, and we are actually going to the CNY Diaper Bank's location to volunteer for a few hours.
Awesome.
Yep. So just kind of, as an organization, as you know, we've been looking to become more engaged with our community. So that was our activity for November. It's kind of a fun pre-Thanksgiving activity.
Yes. Good.
Yeah.
And I would much rather collect the diapers rather than clean up.
Than change the diapers.
Exactly. So I had no problem bringing in a big box. But, yeah. I've done my diaper duty over the years, and I'm sure with, grandkids I'll do some more. But
yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. But that is a great thing. I'm glad that you and Julianne had that on your hearts to do. So that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
So something else that I wanted to mention, whenever I find a podcast that I think is good for our listeners, a couple months back or maybe a few weeks back, I talked about Mastermind with Heather Christie and dealing with the thing about worry and stress and that. The last 2 episodes that she had done, and this is Mastermind with Heather Christie, she talked to a gentleman that owned I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. He owned like a commercial flight type place out down in Fort Myers where corporate jets and things were staged. And it really is an interesting thing where she talks about how he battled back from a massive coronary because he wasn't managing his stress. So I think that's a great one that if our listeners want to take a look at that, maybe I'll make sure that I put a link in the show notes.
Yeah, that'd be great.
For this week. But she did a great job of helping him articulate what his doctor said he needed to watch out for. Mm-hmm. This guy was 48, and I think he died like 4 times while they were trying to fix the blockages in his heart. So
wow.
But it was good. But I just wanted to make sure that I brought that up. So
great. So today, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, we will be talking.
Which is tomorrow.
Yes, yay. We'll be talking about gratitude, and it happens to be the day before Thanksgiving when this airs, but we're not talking about just being grateful in the month of November or the week of Thanksgiving, but really all year long, because it does have so many lifelong benefits that'll totally just help you out in life.
Right.
But why don't you tell us a little bit more about where you got this idea, some of the research you did, and maybe we can talk about the benefits as well.
Sure. So about a year ago, I think I sent out a blog post just before Thanksgiving on just a reminder that we should be grateful. And so then this year I kind of resurrected the concept, and the title of my post was, Are You Grateful? And I think it's something that if we're not careful, we can really lose our, what I'll refer to as an attitude of gratitude. And we oftentimes think that, well, things have to be going extremely well for us to have an attitude of gratitude. And that just is not the case. It really becomes a conscious choice that each one of us has to decide to make as we go through our daily lives. And my wife had shared with me a story this past week about two sisters that were in Germany. They and their father had been arrested by the Nazis for harboring Jews. And in 1944, the two sisters were actually shipped to Ravensbrück prison in Nazi Germany. It's about 50 miles north of Berlin. And the two of them were sent into this prison camp. And the interesting thing was that while they were there, they just continued to take care of people. They people that were sick, they kind of helped nurse them back to health. Whatever they could do to serve people, they were doing. And then one day, the two of them were sent to Barracks 28. And Barracks 28 was the worst of the worst at this prison camp in Ravensbrück. And the beds were extra close together. The beds were actually just wooden platforms with a little bit of dirty straw on top. The sewage would back up so that the place had a terrible stench when you went in. And the worst thing was that when they went to bed at night, which whatever their bed was, again, this board with some straw in it, they realized that the place was infested with fleas. And one of the sisters just, called out to them and said, this is horrible. How are we supposed to handle this? And the other sister remembered, just some scripture she had from her devotions earlier in the day. Or maybe she just was remembering, I don't know exactly, but it was basically this: in everything, give thanks. Mm-hmm. And it caused them to really think, what is there to be thankful for in this horrible place? And what they realized was, well, they had each other. They weren't sent to two separate prison camps. And that they, because the fleas were so bad, the guards wouldn't come in, so they were able to, engage in some of their religious practices that they had, spending some time in prayer, whatever it was, and that they could share that with other people because the guards weren't around. And I just was so struck by the fact that in the worst possible situation, there was something they could be thankful for. And it kind of jolted me and said, who are you to think you have bad days?
I know.
I get colds frequently. Well, so what? I can smell, I can taste, I'm relatively healthy, I have a good job, I have a loving family. And the point was, you have to focus on being grateful. Mm-hmm. And when we do, amazing things actually start to happen in our lives. And then toward the end of the post, I just said, a great way to cultivate this is by keeping a gratitude journal. Mm-hmm. Just notes about what you're thankful for. And Marissa, I know you did some research as well. And what did your research turn up in terms of the benefits of gratitude?
So I came up with a little short list here. So in addition to just feeling good, this is according to an article that I found on the Huffington Post. Some of the other benefits would include just like a greater appraisal of your overall life happiness. So just you'd feel generally happier, improved physical health, improved mood, of course, better coping behaviors, which I thought was really interesting.
Sure.
Boosting feelings of happiness, improved relationships, improved grades for kids and teens. I thought that one was fascinating.
Yeah, that is.
And really important, too, because gratitude is something that, the youth, especially nowadays, could benefit from practicing. Improved quality of sleep. Everyone knows that I am a big fan of sleep, so that's a good one. A stronger, healthier heart. Healthier immune system, which is no surprise because the gut and the mind and the immune system, all of those things are so closely related. That
I must not be grateful enough.
No, I think you're just predisposed to to colds.
To get to colds, yeah.
Protect against stress and depression. I thought that one was really important too. So
sure.
So I think there's a lot there. Why wouldn't you be grateful if all of those good things could happen to you?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I had found another site when I was doing some research a year ago called the happierhuman.com benefits of gratitude, and this gentleman that did gather this information, I believe he took over 40 different studies that he was commenting on, and he came up with 31 specific things that gratitude will do in helping to make us happier. And it was interesting, on the emotional side, a lot of these things that you touched on, simply feeling good more often,
mm-hmm.
being more resilient, having happier memories, more relaxed, less envious.
Mm.
And I really
mm-hmm.
I thought that was an interesting one because envy is a destructive emotion for us, because we all of a sudden look and we'll say, hey, wait a minute, why can't I have that? And oftentimes this desire is cultivated by the media.
Yep.
And making us think we deserve something. And I just thought that was great, that if you're grateful, and it makes sense, if you're grateful, you are going to be less envious.
Mm-hmm.
I found another one here. It makes people like us.
Yep, we had a whole episode about, are you likable?
We did.
Mm-hmm.
We did. And the reality is that if you're a whiner and a complainer, nobody wants to be around you.
Right.
You're just not fun. But yet, if you're a person that is really grateful, people will be drawn to you because you have that positive mindset.
Mm-hmm. I think there was another statistic on happierhuman.com that you cited that a 5-minute gratitude journal practice could increase your well-being by more than 10%, which is the same impact as doubling your income.
Right. I mean, is that not amazing? That you could get the same impact of doubling your income in terms of your happiness,
mm-hmm.
just by taking 5 minutes a day and being grateful for whatever it is you have in your life, for the blessings that you have in your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a career booster. So if we wonder, boy, we're not getting recognized for promotions, we're not getting the opportunities that we need to get, maybe it's just that we're not grateful people, that people don't want to be around us because of the negativity that we seem to spread.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that in my past, where there have been so many people that they just, when you're around them, when they came into the room, the happiness level just plummets.
Right.
It's almost like they suck the oxygen out of a room. Well, why would any manager want to promote that person?
Right.
And I would have...
It's contagious, too. The attitude is contagious, just like how an attitude of gratitude can also be contagious in a good way. So it really, it can start and it can end with one person.
Right. And I think, too, so, one of the things that our organizations all need is more innovation. We need to find newer, better ways to do things. Unless you're a person that I think cultivates gratitude in their heart and in their mind, you won't be open to new ideas, because you're going to find everything that's wrong rather than looking at those things that are wrong as opportunities
mm-hmm.
to explore something that nobody's thought of yet. Because it said, number 7 on this list of 31, gratitude makes us more optimistic. And I think that's, people want to be around people that are that have this tremendous optimism. They actually say that the 5-minute gratitude journal increases your optimism by 15%.
Wow.
Right off the bat.
Wow.
Yeah. And I thought this one, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I thought this was interesting. Gratitude reduces materialism, which again, if
mm-hmm.
it's going to cut down on envy. And if you think about the stress that comes into families when we think we need to buy more things, and then we find ourselves farther in debt,
mm-hmm.
and we're buying things perhaps we can't afford. So you got what you wanted, but the end result was it created stress.
Yep.
Whereas if we can be really content with what we have, we reduce the stress, we enjoy what we have more, and we didn't find ourselves deeper in debt. It's instead of a spiral downward, it's almost like a spiral upwards.
And I'm so glad you brought that up, because I know I've talked about this before, but Nancy Ray's Contentment Challenge. We should link that in the show notes, because
send me that link.
I will. I think some of our listeners may be interested in checking that out. I've never done it, but I know some people who have, and they've expressed just that, is that they went from having this vicious cycle of materialism and want and envy, and then stress, overspending, and debt, and totally shifted to being very grateful and content for all that they do have. And they didn't say it was easy, but they said it was worth it. So we should link that for sure, because I think a lot of our listeners would be interested, even if you don't want to partake in the challenge in its entirety. Just kind of having that mindset and looking into it, I think, is worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I remember thinking about, and I don't think we mentioned it on one of the podcasts, but when the last hurricane went through Florida, and I saw all the folks, on the news and things rushing to take care of this or that in a condo and a boat, and I said to my wife, I said, I'm so glad that we don't have anything down there. Mm-hmm. My brother lives down there, and my parents have a condo in the Deerfield Beach area, and I have friends that have condos down there, and I know your parents have a place down there. Mm-hmm. And my thought was, because I don't, that's one worry I didn't have to have.
Yeah.
And I have a cousin that I know has a boat down there, and so I don't even know, what do you do with a boat? Because you take it out of the water and you bring it inland, and that's not going to be safe either. So, mm-hmm. and that gets into the gentleman that I mentioned on the Mastermind podcast, where he was responsible for a lot of people's private planes, and he had to fly them north. And it ends up that the place he flew them to was in Georgia, where the hurricane went as well.
Yeah.
But it was just, so when, the less we have, the less worries we have. Mm-hmm. I guess that's what that part's saying.
So let's talk about some other ways. We talked about the gratitude journal. We talked about the contentment challenge. Let's talk about some other ways that people can increase their gratitude practice.
Well, I think the gratitude journal is really one of the best ways, because every day you're asking yourself to identify things that you are grateful for. Mm-hmm. So for me, I have my affirmations that I go through with myself every morning. Excuse me. But I also have just a gratitude statement, of the things that I am thankful for, and I read them every day. I think the other thing is that if you can cultivate, since we realize that gratitude helps students with their test scores and doing better in school, wouldn't it be so great if part of the family ritual, if I can call it that, as they sit around a dinner table, is to say what they're thankful for, mm-hmm. or what they're grateful for, or something that went well that day. I know in a book that I read about a year ago called The Happiness Advantage, this I think he's a Harvard professor, talked about using gratitude or finding something positive in your day as a tool to help brokers process through the Great Recession that we had in 2007, 2008. Mm-hmm. And one of the gentlemen that he talked about in the book made sure that his kids held him accountable. So they couldn't start the dinner unless he would say something good that had happened that day. Mm-hmm. So you just build, one of the things I think, because over the centuries, religions of the world started to focus on rituals, and nobody really knew the reasons behind them. A ritual or a habit became bad. But if you think about it, if we can get into family rituals, which would things like, we're going to talk about things that went well at the end of every day or over a dinner table. Or we've done this as our family at Thanksgiving. We've, gone around the table, what are you thankful for?
Mm-hmm.
And you find some really amazing things that you might have missed. And it also, I remember one Thanksgiving, our kids were little. My siblings all lived out of state, so it was just my parents and I and my wife and our 4 kids. In fact, we might have only had 3 kids at the time. So it was a small group, and somebody said, well, let's see if there's some people at a retirement center down the road from our church that just need a place to go. Mm-hmm. So we invited these folks, strangers, had no idea, and there were 3 of them that decided to come. My dad said the same thing. So what are you thankful for as you go around this table today? And this one man said, I'm thankful that I had a place to come for Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. And then he went on to say, because I've been diagnosed with cancer. And it was one of those moments where we were able to connect with a man that we would have never connected with, who was facing the last, let's say, 4 months of his life. Mm-hmm. So, we got to know him. His name was Brownie. His nickname was Brownie. And we just, it was a nice, we met him on Thanksgiving and he died Easter morning. So, wow. But, it was just one of those memories that you have because my parents said, hey, let's open the home to see if there's some other people that don't have any place. Mm-hmm. So it's those little things, rituals, whatever you want to call it, practices that can really strengthen our families. Yep. So were there any things that your family did over the years, Marisa, especially around Thanksgiving?
Usually at Thanksgiving we go around the table and talk about what we're thankful for, and it's funny. We always have we have a big family, so typically we split up kids table and adults table. I still gladly sit at the kids table, and the kids.
I don't blame you.
Because we're the kids. There's no more room at the adult table, so the kids table is truly the cousins, and it's really fun to listen. I'm part of the older group, and listening to what my younger cousins have said over the years has been really special because it's transitioned from, I'm thankful for my toys and my American Girl dolls to deeper things. And so it's been really special to watch that because now the youngest cousin is, she's 12, and now there are, I have a daughter and my cousin has a couple kids, so now there's another generation in the mix, and it's been really special to do that together. But I agree. I don't think that's something that we should only do on Thanksgiving. I think that's one of the things I found in my research was what the author called a happy meal, not from McDonald's, but rather an opportunity to sit down with friends or family and really go around the table and each take a turn. This would tie in great with Friendsgiving, which I know I've talked about before on here. And it doesn't have to be just this time of year, but I know I have a very small group of friends. We all get together just every once in a while. We used to get together a lot more, but now we're busier. We have kids and spouses and everything. And now I feel like we do that almost naturally every time we see each other because it's been so long.
That's great.
And they're so special to me. So I think that's important. I think being present is really important. I try to do this a lot because, we are so fortunate, but oftentimes, like you said, we'll have a bad day or, someone cuts you off in a parking lot, things like that. Right. I try to remember, like if someone, I go to one of the very large Wegmans stores in the area. It's really busy pretty much all the time. And when I go and someone takes my parking spot or someone cuts me off in the parking lot, instead of, getting upset and being annoyed with them for taking my spot, I try to say, that's okay. Maybe they needed it more than I did. And I'm just grateful because I had a car to drive myself here. Right. I have a car to park. Some folks can't drive to the grocery store and they need to walk to get their groceries in the snow and the rain and the cold. Right. So just taking moments like that, just to be grateful, like when my daughter is screaming her head off maybe because she's teething or something, I'm grateful because she's healthy and she's happy. And although she may be upset because her teeth are coming in, she's going to make it through and we're all going to be okay. So
right.
I try to do things like that, and I think it's definitely improved my overall feel-good nature.
Absolutely. You know, I loved one of the other notes that you had on your sheet here. Avoid complaining or passing judgment for an entire day.
Yes.
You know, give yourself a challenge. And, you know, one of the other things that was on this, the 31 things that gratitude will do for you, one of them said it will help your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And the point was that if we sit there, you know, all of us can find things to complain about our spouse. If we try, we're going to find things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do we complain or not? And the answer is no. If we don't, if you really just think about the positives of the loved ones in your life, your relationships are going to get better. If you think about the positives in the relationships you have at work, if you focus on the positives with your boss as opposed to the negatives, things are going to get better.
Yep.
Because you know, as I've often said, you find what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. Just, you know, try spending a day without passing judgment. The other thing that I mentioned today in a training that I did was, you know, a lot of times I'll end up going shopping with my family on Black Friday. And last year I deliberately decided that I wasn't going to view it as a negative. I was going to find the positives in it. And I was able to do that. It was just a really enjoyable day. I wasn't bothered by crowds of people because that's not where I was going.
Mm-hmm.
I was going with, this is a wonderful time of year. The holidays are great. I love listening to the Christmas songs on the you know, the speakers in the stores.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at people's smiles rather than people fighting over that last toy at, you know, the toy store type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's what we make it. And I really think that we have the opportunity to really make every day a masterpiece if we're grateful.
Yep.
Wow.
Covered a lot there.
We covered a lot.
I feel like we could keep going, but I know in the interest of time we won't.
Yeah, we got to stop.
Yes. So you mentioned you already mentioned to me that you don't have an idea for next week, so that's okay. It'll be a surprise for us all.
It will be.
And I think we want to make sure that we wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving from us and from MACNY
absolutely.
and from PEB and our board of directors. We're very grateful for our membership. We're very grateful for our listeners.
Absolutely. Yeah, we want to thank everyone for listening. We want to remind you, if you haven't subscribed, to do so. Please send us feedback. Please give us ideas as to what you'd like us to talk about. And, you know, remember that if you want to leave a review, you have to set up a nickname or you won't be able to do that. Mm-hmm. So with that, I'm Dave Freund.
I'm Marisa Norcross.
And this was The Next Page.